Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of 13-year-old Matthew Margolies, who was supposed to meet people to go fishing on August 31st, 1984, but he never showed up. Now Matthew was from a small town called Gleville, which is in Connecticut, and a lot of people knew him around town, and people had been seeing him in town all afternoon. Around 5 p.m., multiple witnesses confirmed seeing him within a 1-block radius of a deli that was a popular hangout spot, and around 5:30, a young woman who lived in a nearby street said she saw him walking down the road next to the deli. She waved from her car, and he waved back, and that was the last confirmed sighting of Matthew alive. Later that night, his mother started calling around because he didn't come home for dinner, and she wanted to know if anybody had seen him. So people started asking around, which is when it became clear that he was supposed to meet up with some people to go fishing, but he never showed up. And that's when officials suspected that something had really gone wrong. Nobody considered that he would have fallen into the river because he was actually a good swimmer, and his mother insisted that there was no way he would just run off. His grandfather had passed away just a few weeks before, so people thought he may have gone to the cemetery, but there was no sign of him there either. By noon the next day, everybody suspected that something terrible had happened to him. Matthew's older sister Stacy consulted a psychic who had an eerie prediction that Matthew's body would be found on a nearby steep hill by an unknown male. On September 5th, Fred Lambert, a volunteer fireman, decided to climb a steep scrub-laden hill, and there he saw a black and white checkered slip-on sneaker. Minutes later, he led 2 officers to the site, and the 3 of them noticed a large swarm of flies and a strong odor of decomposition, and that is where they found Matthew's body hidden beneath leaves, branches, and heavy rocks, with only his toes and ear visible. Now when he was found, he was only wearing his underwear and 1 sock. He had been stabbed multiple times in the chest and abdomen, and his t-shirt that he had been wearing had been knotted around his neck. The killer had also shoved dirt and sticks down his throat, gagging him with the missing sock, and deeply cut his neck before stabbing him repeatedly in his torso. His body also had some defensive wounds, indicating that he had struggled with his killer. A 10-inch boning knife was found near the body, but Matthew's fishing rod was not recovered there, though it would be located about a week later. It had been purchased by a friend of his beforehand, and according to police, the friend was not believed to be a witness or a suspect. Now, through the years, 2 people were suspects in this case, but neither were actually convicted. The first of the suspects was a 16-year-old boy who had lived just a few feet from the hill where Matthew's body had been discovered. He was known as a bully. In the past, he had harassed Matthew before, and he once pulled a knife on another boy, according to that child's father. The same summer Matthew was killed, he had actually stalked and abducted another 13-year-old boy, the bully, not Matthew. He lured him to a vacant apartment with the promise of a drink on a hot summer day. The bully slammed the victim's head into the floor, forced him to lie face down on the ground, straddled him while driving a nail into his back repeatedly. He had ordered the victim to remove his pants, but the attack was halted by somebody who lived in another apartment returning home. He then proceeded to hose the victim down to wash off the blood and then drove him home. The victim told his mother everything, and then the bully was actually found guilty, though his punishment is unknown. The victim has since done interviews about his assault, and he believes that that is the killer of Matthew. But the police interviewed him extensively and searched his house. He also has a solid alibi of working at Wendy's, which can be verified with a time card and a witness, so he was eventually ruled out. The second suspect was Roger Bates, a retired Port Chester police officer who lived in Texas. He had been arrested near Dallas for molesting a 14-year-old boy. Bates was convicted in 2004 and sentenced to 22 years in prison. During his trial, the son of another Port Chester cop testified that he'd been molested by Bates in 1984. Same year Matthew was killed. The cop's son claimed to occasionally fish with Matthew and went on to say that Bates once took him both fishing. Furthermore, he reported that Bates was behaving strangely after Matthew's murder and even urged the boy not to cooperate with detectives during the investigation. But the sample of DNA that was found at the scene did not match the sample that was taken from Robert Bates, meaning that the murder still remains unsolved. And that is why I was asked to do a reading on this case. We're going to do that starting off with the Wise Dog Tarot, which is already on the table. And for any further questions, moving on to the Urban Tarot deck, which is this one. So as per usual, I'm going to start shuffling the deck. As soon as I have about a table full of cards, I'm going to stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. All right, let's see what we've got. We're starting off with the Nine of Wands, with the Five of Wands in reverse right next to that. And then the Queen of Wands in reverse. So Nine of Wands is like you're burdened by something, you're kind of tired of something, and then you're struggling somewhat internally, perhaps also externally, maybe also struggling with another person. I'm not entirely sure who this is referencing yet. And then we have the Queen of Wands in reverse, somebody who is very willful and perhaps doing things the wrong way. I'm not sure if we're looking at Matthew or the perpetrator in this case, because it seems like a bit of a weird start for Matthew's day, basically, on that day. Because this doesn't feel like the event itself, more like leading up to it. Well, let's take a look what the rest of the cards say. We have the Nine of Cups right next to that, which is somebody who's feeling pretty good about themselves. And Page of Pentacles in reverse. Some new initiative, perhaps, that they want to embark on, something that they want to purchase, something that they want to get, a plan for that in any case. And then the Magician in reverse, so being unable to do something about said plan. So we've got somebody who is feeling burdened by something, and even though they feel pretty good by themselves, they want to do something else, but they feel themselves unable to do that. And then on the next row, we have the Ten of Wands and the Eight of Swords in reverse. So the Ten of Wands is like trying to carry a burden to its final part, to let it go, the final stage. And then we have the Eight of Swords in reverse, unable to let go of some form of thoughts and pattern of thinking that you could easily step out of. Compared with the inability of the Magician over there on the first row, I'm thinking that we are looking at the perpetrator's point of view over here. Somebody who is unable to let go of certain thoughts, certain actions, perhaps a certain burden that they cannot let go of. Combined with this reversed Page of Pentacles, which seems like they really want something, but perhaps it's not good. I'm thinking that this is somebody who has a certain burden within themselves that leads them to act out in ways that they probably know are not good because it's in reverse already. So, and also over here, they know that it's not good because they don't want to let go of it, but they also see it as a burden that is theirs to bear. Then next we have the Queen of Pentacles, right? Somebody who tries to keep all the plates spinning but has trouble doing so. Queen of Pentacles tends to be somebody who wants to take care of things. And then we have the Ace of Wands right next to that, looking for some new initiative to start some action that they're about to take care of. So it could be that they're trying to take care of some type of need or some type of resource or something that they want to help with. And it's a rather sudden decision. And the dog of this ace looks very much like the dog on the other ace. So it's kind of like initially they want something from somebody or some type of resource that they really want and that they cannot get. And then suddenly we have the Queen of Pentacles over here looking to help with resources with this Ace of Wands upright as well. So maybe they're like, hey, I can do this for you. I can do that for you. So maybe they are at this point offering something to Matthew or making a proposition or something along those lines. And then on the next card we see here is the Three of Wands in reverse, which kind of reminds me of that kid that was the known bully who offered to give this kid a ride to get them a drink on a hot summer's day. It kind of looks like, hey, I can do this thing for you. And then they take them somewhere where they weren't planning on going, because the Three of Wands is like planning a route somewhere, planning to go someplace, but it's not where you want to go in this case because it's in reverse. Then we have the Ten of Cups on its side and the King of Wands in reverse. So this is a dubious moment of maybe everything's going to be okay, but then we have the King of Wands in reverse, who is very willful, and in this case doing whatever they want to do, which I'm assuming is the part where Matthew gets assaulted by this person. Somebody who is very willful and maybe also lacks the inhibitions, basically. The things that he does are very fiery and does not care what the consequences are. At least in the moment, he does not care about that. He's just doing his thing. He's got his eyes closed, and there's a lot of fire here. There's also a fire salamander there. And basically, combined with this 10 of cups over here, I think that they just do whatever they do because it makes them feel good, and they don't really care about what happens after or what happens to the people that also happen to be involved in this situation. So I'm thinking that this action that they carried out on Matthew is something that's been building over some time. They've had some struggles with that in the past already. And then when the mood struck, they decided to act upon it once again because the magician's in reverse, so they cannot really help themselves. Maybe that's also the story that they tell about themselves, like about their predilections, that they cannot help it, or something that somehow it's not like within themselves, it's outside of themselves, what's happening in that moment. So this is the point where we have seen what led up to it and the act itself. So I'm thinking, since we know what happened after he was discovered, let's see what happened to this perpetrator after, and if we're going to ever find out who it was, if they're ever going to meet with justice. Let's see what the Urban Tarot has to say about that. All right, we've got the Four of Swords, called Truce, and we've got the Princess of Cups, or the Page of Cups, called the Costume Designer. So this says to me that they laid low after this event took place, which is definitely something you would do. And then the Costume Designer, I think, is also whatever comes up, we're going to have a measured response. We're going to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row. We have all the answers to whatever questions may arise, but also that we emotionally do not show any sort of reaction to potentially people questioning us or something along those lines. They're kind of close to the fire because over here we've got this window in the background that's kind of showing what looks to be like a movie theater or something, or maybe a theater where they show plays where this person's costumes are actually worn. So they're kind of close to the action, but they're also in a bit of a secluded area in this basement, the workshop basically. So this person may be able to follow what's happening. So I think they are close. They're not somebody who just wandered through town and then left. They're able there to see what's going on. They see everybody's reactions, and meanwhile they're kind of dancing around the whole thing, which is also kind of like the ballerina in the background. Very precise, very measured responses to everything that's being thrown their way. So this is somebody who is carefully planning out everything. Their responses are very measured. They have a level of intelligence as well that helps with that. So it's not like they're doing things randomly. Okay, there's a rather large stack here. We're not going to take all of them, just a few. Okay, whoop. These. I think that's it. All right. High Priestess and the Three of Wands. Again, we had the Three of Wands already over here. We're not going anywhere. So maybe this is also pointing towards them not moving from where they are. High Priestess seems to me like they are interpreting signs that they might see around them. They might be trying to, I guess, gauge responses of people to see if they maybe know something. Maybe also somehow trying to keep tabs on things through a higher power, or pretending that they can actually contact some type of higher power that is somehow involved in this and guiding them in a way. And now they are laying low over here, basically just waiting for the fire. They may also be helping out because it is a fire brigade over there that comes in and tries to put out this fire, but maybe they're also part of the fire starting. So this may be somebody who has actually been involved in the case itself. Oops, and therefore may seem innocent because they are helping like that. So maybe also keep an eye on them. Let's see what else we got here. Hierophant, yeah. Somebody who has some type of authority within the community. Abundance in reverse, the Three of Cups in reverse, and the Eight of Cups upright. So when they come into question, they actually decide to walk away. Like I said, with Hierophant, they may actually have some type of position within the community where people turn to them for advice, etc. But this may not be the best person to talk to. They may have something up their sleeve that they are not known for. And this is somebody who probably just would be the last person you would expect. Abundance in reverse, Three of Cups in reverse. Maybe there are some people who are giving them a side eye that they do not appreciate. They may also be causing some chaos and confusion within their own circles. They may have some arguments with people, and then they become very distant with this Eight of Cups. Maybe also because there is a certain level of boredom setting in. With this card, you see a lot of stuff that people have been doing in the background to keep themselves interested. There's all of these cards and things. They've stacked a bunch of glasses. They've even made a knight with a horse out of office equipment. They are basically just kind of bored with perhaps not being challenged, not being found out. Maybe they're also waiting for somebody to ask the right questions. I'm not really sure what to expect of this person. They may be somebody who has a high level of intelligence that wants somebody to really come for them. They may be thinking like, why haven't they seen these clues? They're so obvious. Are these people stupid? Like, that's what I'm kind of getting from this card over here combined with these over here. They may be very closely involved and wondering why they haven't been found out yet. Maybe also because of that card earlier that we had, or the cards earlier that we had with the Ten of Wands and the Eight of Swords. They feel like it's a burden that they have to bear. They don't really seem to feel very much responsible for their actions. They may actually be wanting for somebody to stop them. That kind of reminds me of an interview that once was done with that serial killer whose name currently escapes me, but he went after students a lot. And he would look upon things that just happened as, oh, I guess I've got permission now. Like he once drove past a couple of students when his initial victims had already been found, and they had also been students, I believe. And he was like, well, everybody knows that there's somebody out on the loose who's like offering rides, doing bad things to people, and if these people want me to pick them up, I guess that's kind of like permission. Like that's, they just want this or something like that. And that's maybe the type of person that we have here as well. Okay. Right, Prudence, the Eight of Pentacles on its side. So he's working very hard, but also, again, kind of bored of it maybe, or this is something that he really doesn't appreciate doing. He doesn't like doing the type of things that he does or that he feels pulled towards doing, but he does it because he can. Alright, the Devil comes up. There is a predilection, like I said, something that they are attached to. Maybe this is also just a game to them to a certain degree. And oh, there you go. We have the Devil here, and then we have the Seducer, which is, in this case, the King of Cups, even though it says Knight. The Kings are Knights in this deck. And the Lovers as well. Alright, so this may be somebody who does not appear to be very creepy, or does not appear to be very likely, like I said earlier, to do something so terrible. Somebody who can easily seduce another person. The King of Cups is very emotional, very emotionally aware, and has a way of distracting people from the bad things. And then over here with the Lovers, somebody who is quick to make connections with others as well, but they have this nasty devil stuff energy in the background. Okay, so that's kind of like a character description. Now let's see if we can get any information on whether they're actually going to get caught at some points. That one. Queen of Swords. Okay, somebody is very methodical here. So maybe this will be somebody who is kind of on the same level. Not sure when this person is going to show up and if they are already at play, but they are at least very analytical, very cold. They may be able to put all the emotional stuff aside in order to look at what are actually the facts, which may be good because they may not be easily influenced by somebody who is like a King of Cups, who tends to play things on the emotions. If your emotions are kind of suppressed because you want to solve the case, then that would be helpful against somebody who tends to play on people's emotions mostly for their gain. The Two of Swords in reverse. All right, so they may feel like they really don't have much of a choice here. There isn't really any doubt here, so maybe they feel like they are on the right track. They may already be looking for somebody and noticing that it's snowing over there. They do look determined even though they are on a snowy hill, like they know exactly what tracks they need to look for and what tracks are a distraction. There's one card on the floor. The Hermits. Okay, so they've kind of like withdrawn as well in order to work on this. And then we have here this is the Four of Pentacles. So they just do not have the resources that they need, or they're not able to balance them quite the way that they should in order to get what they want. This looks like the Space Needle, which I think is in Seattle, and that's kind of the first thing I noticed about this card. Looks like maybe there's somebody in Seattle who has some reference or at least some connection to this case. I don't know, but maybe there is something in Seattle or someone in Seattle who may be able to help with that. Either way, they're kind of sticking to themselves. So maybe this is somebody who is working on this case from home. Somebody who is actually not even in Connecticut. Somebody who may have no particular connection to the case and the town that it took place in. They just really, really want to solve this or want to help out somehow, and they're kind of secluded in that way as well, which also may be explaining why it is a Queen of Swords that we're seeing, because they don't have any personal stake in the game. They just want to solve this case. Like they may have seen all this information out there, all the clues, and they just really, really want to work on it in peace and quiet with no distractions, but they just lack the resources to really act upon the things that they feel like they found out. One card over here. This is the Six of Cups. All right, so nobody's really willing to help out either. So even though they may be asking, like, hey, I think I've got something here. I need this and that amount of money. I need this and that amount of information and data, etc. Can anybody help out? There aren't really many people stepping up to do so. Maybe because they're not really officially related to any of these investigators, so that they don't really seem official. But that does not actually distract him, because this person is very focused on the right path. They do not want anything to come in the way of that. So I think they are going to be very persistent with their research and their case. So I think that only really slows things down. Then we have the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. Okay, so that is something more of a negative turn. Maybe they are stopped in their research, or somebody comes after them for it as well. King of Pentacles pops up. All right, so maybe somebody will actually come forward and help out in some way. Somebody who believes in them. This took a long time to get this card, so maybe it'll also take a long time before they actually come into contact with this person. High Priestess again. All right. That's interesting. So somebody may be connected to this, and this may be, I feel like this is a different person. Like, I feel like the King of Pentacles only really came into play because they actually saw something from somebody who had an insight, and they decided, oh, hey, maybe this is actually the right thing to do. So after this person has a bit of a negative turnaround, this King of Pentacles is influenced by somebody who has some idea of what might be good to research, and then they go looking around and they find this other person and they're like, hey, this person's actually doing the thing, so why don't we go ahead and support them? It can't really hurt, you know, and it's for a good cause, etc. Okay, so all of these wanted to go. I guess we'll grab all of them. Then we have the Empress in reverse. Let's see, somebody may not be willing to work with them, and maybe somebody who is trying to work against them, rather. Maybe somebody who is connected to Matthew who does not really like the way that this person is investigating things. They may be guarding some information that they do not want to be made public. But we have here the Eight of Cups. This is a walking away from things mentally, emotionally. Maybe they need to create some distance as well in order to get to the next stage. Page of Swords, things are being said that perhaps were not the best to be said, because this is more of a head over heels type of comment that is being made, perhaps. I also see here Judgment in reverse, so if things are not judged properly, maybe the person is stopped because people do not think that their intentions are correct. And then lastly, we have the Ace of Swords in reverse and the animal shelter over here with the Five of Pentacles. Okay, so I feel like the person who is trying to investigate this by themselves is not going to be understood by the people that are on the ground over there. And this King of Pentacles, even though they want to help out, their help's not going to help ultimately, because we're ending up over here with the Five of Pentacles, meaning that we do not actually get the things that we want. Ace of Swords in reverse, maybe also because they say things that kind of rub people the wrong way, and they try to do things in a manner that does not agree with the rest. So even though they have the heart in the right place, as they say, and maybe also onto something, they will not find the cooperation that they need in order to carry this thing out. Now, whether this is going to eventually turn around, I don't really know. Let's see if we can get a few more cards on that, because I feel like people are not giving them the time of day that they deserve. And these two fell out at the bottom. All right, so the last two cards that I'm pulling are the Ace of Swords upright. Okay, so maybe we now are learning from how things went initially, and now we're changing our plan to be more acceptable. And then we have the Two of Pentacles. Things are needing to be considered. Also, it says change over here. Could be that people are changing their mind now with this new way of putting things, that perhaps this person has now decided, okay, well, this approach does not work, but what if I turn it around and I say, this is what I want to do? And they're like, oh, okay, maybe. So maybe there is some change in the future. Maybe this person will eventually be allowed to do the things that they think might help with the case. It kind of looks like they do have some good ideas that do need to be heard, but the way that they approach things are not great. So maybe this person needs to work on their communication. And then perhaps they're going to get a little further than we did initially. Also looking at the airplane over there, maybe they actually have to fly out in order to present their plan properly, and then things will be considered. Perhaps then we'll see some more conclusions to this case. But that is what I'm seeing for Matthew Margolies. I hope you found that interesting. Make sure to leave a comment and a like. That really helps the channel along. If you want to subscribe, it's even more appreciated. In any case, I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.